So, begin with our opening prayers, and we will start with the opening verses, invocation verses of the Tattvabodha and Vivekachudamani. Hari Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahe, Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dayakaram Dayakaram Kantam Dharma Pravartakam Pranamami Dayanandam Madhacharya Paramparam. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. The invocation verses. Vasudevendra Yogendram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattvabodho Bhidiyate Sarva Vedānta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. So last week we had left at a very important value, sadhana chatushtaya sampattihi. We are seeing the qualifications for a spiritual aspirant. What a spiritual aspirant has to gain in the forms of mental qualifications. So we saw Shama, Dhamma, Uparama. Many of them we have seen Viveka, Vairagya, and we saw last week Shraddha. So we began with the Shraddha. Shraddha in the Tattvabodha is Guru Vedānta Vakyadeshu Vishvasaha Shraddha. It is a trust, a relaxation in the words of the teacher. One trusts what the teacher says, pending discovery for oneself. So it's always pending discovery. So after discovery, one is the form of trust. You don't need to trust anything. Until then, the Shastra itself says the Guru is the person who is the key to understanding the words of the Shastra. The Guru unfolds the Shastra so that you see the words of the Upanishads and assimilate the words of Upanishads as they are supposed to be assimilated by the Rishis. So the Rishis have handed down the code for deciphering the Upanishads, and the teachers in the Parampara, the lineage, are the code breakers. They're the ones who can explain the code to others. So this we saw in the Tattvabodha, and in Vivekacūḍāmaṇiḥ, the description was much the same. Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhya Vadharanam Sa Shraddha Katita Shabdir Yaya Vastupu Upalabhyate. So that by which one understands the exact import of the scriptures as well as the powerful words of advice from a guru, that by which one understands is called Shraddha. And by this Shraddha, having this Shraddha, by that alone does the reality become manifest in the aspirant's mind. So this is very, again, there's some parts of this that we have to see still. Somebody asked yesterday, I was giving a talk, how does one find a guru? So how does one find a guru? It is very difficult to know that. Something, and I'm saying it in one sentence, something just has to click. Okay, there is no one size fits all. Something has to click when you discover the shraddha in the teachings. When you see the teaching blessing your life, when you see the teaching impacting the way you think, then you have discovered that the teacher is the one who communicates. So a teacher in somebody. So a teacher, guru, is to be discovered, not for somebody to proclaim they're the guru. And it is always, of course, due to the grace of God. If you remember the first verse that we saw in Vivekacūḍāmaṇiḥ, Durlabam Trayamevetat Devanugraha Hetukam Mumukshutvam Manushyatvam Mahapurusha Samshrayaha. Very difficult to gain are three things in life. Only due to the grace of God can one gain, which is one is a physical body, a human body, not just any physical body. A human birth is very difficult to gain. And after being born a human, the desire for liberation, is it easy? Does it come for everybody? No. The very desire for liberation is also because of Ishvara's grace alone, that I want to be free, a human being that recognizes my life is not just living, like everybody else. My life is to discover something, and that discovery means freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from everything I don't want. Moksha is very simple to understand. Freedom from everything I don't want. Who doesn't want that freedom? Everybody, human being, whether they know it or not, we just call it moksha. But everybody is after that one thing, in fact. But a spiritual aspirant, mumukshu, recognizes this is what I want. So mumukshutvam is very difficult to get because it's a recognition of why you're doing what you're doing. And the third thing difficult to get is the Mahapurusha Samshrayaha, the umbrella or having the ashraya, the protection of a Mahapurusha, a great being. Mahapurusha means great being. Somebody who sees more than I see. We take it like that, okay? And we have the protection of that person. Guru is also protective force. So that is why Guru often is considered equivalent to Bhagavan, because Guru shows you Ishvara. Ishvara is unfolded by the teacher. So Guru becomes, many people invoke Ishvara in the Guru as well. So we know that the traditional understanding of Guru is what? Gukaras twandakaro ve, rukaras tannivartakaha, andakara niroditva tat guru api diyate. So the Gu stands for darkness. Ru stands for remover. The one who removes the darkness is actually a guru. So we don't have, those now all the time we hear management guru, this guru, that guru. In those days, the guru, that word was used for the one who removes the darkness of ignorance, not the darkness of management or business. It is the darkness of a specific knowledge that is removed. So Shraddha is very important. Shraddha until you discover for yourself, because that is what propels the pursuit. If Shraddha is not there, then pursuit will drop off. Then people will go back to their day-to-day life and then get back into the old way of living. Shraddha is like the fuel for that pursuit of spiritual knowledge. And the words are not just the unfoldment of the words of the Shastra. The words of the Guru, what the Guru recommends, like a doctor, spiritual doctor. You can call the Guru a spiritual doctor. If you come to a Guru, obviously you want spiritual knowledge. You want spiritual success. The Guru is not only going to tell you what is in the Upanishad and what is in the Shastra. The Guru will also teach you a way of life, will live a way of life which is conducive to discovering the truth. So the way of life has to match the teaching. We cannot have one foot in one way of life and then another foot in spiritual way. Some sacrifice has to be made somewhere. The problem is with human beings, we don't want to make sacrifices. Navaratri is a time to practice sacrifice. Sacrificing what I really like. Sacrifice means I really like to do something, but I abstain from doing it. That is called, for every loss, you feel it's a loss, but for that type of sacrifice, there's always a gain in form of spiritual shakti. When we practice tapasya, vratas, when we do all of these things, what do we gain? We gain some shakti, inner shakti. We are able to have that power to manage our senses. When the senses want to go after, somebody here is giving up salt. Senses want to have salt. But what do you say? No, no salt. I'm not having salt. It's a big tapasya not to have salt. But you get that power. You gain that power when you stop the mind going after what it wants. So this is important to understand. Shraddha is what makes your shravanam effective. The listening to the words of Vedanta become effective when you understand that it is important to get that shraddha. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. We've heard this as well by Lord Krishna. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, the one with the shraddha will gain this knowledge. So how will you know? How will you know? Shastra has to be unfolded by the communicator. The communication takes time. It is not just on the weekend. I'll just get one class, I'll get it. This communication unfoldment takes years. So I'm putting that as a disclaimer. Don't think it's going to come after one text or two texts. The unfoldment and the assimilation of Atmajnanam takes years and years, and maybe sometimes even lifetimes. Other things will give you quick results. Knowledge will give permanent result, but it takes time. So there is no, shortcut in knowledge. That is why Shraddha again is important. If the Shastra says this, there is some truth in it for my own growth. And there's no resistance to it, no resistance to what is being said. So there are some questions that may come into your mind, that come into everybody's mind. Why do I really need to go to a teacher in the first place? And what is this package deal, Guru and the scripture coming together? These are things that people will ask. I can study Upanishad by myself, right? There are so many translations available. I can go to the store and easily buy Mundaka, Mandukya. I've seen many people with shelves of Upanishads they have read. I signed up. Some people may say, I signed up only for knowledge, not for a person. I only want the knowledge. So, we have to understand why the actual person is also important. It is not a person, it's an institution the person represents. We cannot study Shastra by ourselves because the very ahankara, the I that is involved in the study, when you study something, your I is very much there. Your concepts also come in there. You look at a text from your angle when you read the words. From what your background is, you look at the words there. Here, we are asking you to put your ahankara aside. In the Shravanam, your ego is suspended for the time being. There is no you with your concepts here. There's no you with all your notions. That notionful you is suspended for some time. And that is when the words work. When you are empty, when you're a full cup already and somebody is pouring tea into your cup, what will happen? It will just brim over and spill. There was a Japanese master. There's a story of a Japanese master. He did that. When a disciple came to learn from him, he wanted to teach him. He knew the disciple was going to all over the place and listening to everything. And he had a lot of, ego. He could tell. So he said, I'll make you a cup of tea. And he had already bought the full teacup to this disciple. And he kept pouring the tea into the teacup. So this person who had come for discipleship, he said, what is this master doing? Why is he pouring the tea? It's already full. And then he asked, finally he could not contain himself. He said, why are you flooding the place? You're pouring the tea into the cup. It's already full. He said, if your head is full like this, all the knowledge I give you, what will happen? It will just spill over. It won't be able to stay in the cup. It won't stay. So an empty cup, if one comes with an empty cup, the Guru is able to fill it with the knowledge. So this is very important. One cannot have this knowledge by themselves because the way of unfoldment becomes important, and that is where lineage comes into the picture. Even the avatars had gurus. Rama had Vashishta. Krishna went to Sandipani to study. So in those days, it was very much, part of the culture to send the children to the Gurukulam to have, spiritual studies along with the worldly studies as well. And all the avatars I had. Another few reasons for having the teacher is that consciousness, Brahman, cannot be objectified. I mean, what are we studying really? We're studying that we are limitless whole, we're limitless truth. The whole world is that also. Every human being is also limitless truth. The nature of Ishvara or Ishvari, nature of myself and the whole Jagat is that one consciousness, that one truth. If you retain the I, how can you objectify that truth? You cannot, because it is very, very you that is being talked about. That is why you need a mirror from outside to show you yourself. It's interesting. The eyes are there to see the external world, but they can't see themselves. They can't see unless there's a mirror. This is the physical eye we're talking about, EYE. The spiritual I can also not see itself. That I has to have a mirror from outside to see the real I. And that is, the mirror is the Shastra and the teacher. As I said, they come together. So this way of surrendering to the pramana means you surrender to the teacher in that way, with the words, you understand what is being said is for my own good. What is being said is for my own growth. And that is called Shraddha. We have to test it and try only, and then we know if it works, because everything has to be tested. So another reason for a teacher is that you have a basic conclusion of yourself, which is what? Erroneous. What do you think of yourself? We think I'm small, I'm limited, I'm so-and-so, I have this history, I'm inadequate, I have all the limitations of time, place, I'm here now. If I'm here now, I can't be somewhere else, right? If I have a beginning, I have an end. This is called limitation. So limited to this particular form. And I'm limited by other forms also, not just this form. Other forms limit me, they trigger me. I become a victim in the world. It's like, Swamiji used to say, you exit the house in a ninja pose. You're ready to fight the world. This is what we do every day. We're ready to fight everything else outside. So this is where a teacher also becomes very useful. A teacher questions your conclusions about yourself. A teacher asks, are you really who you think you are? So there's a whole process of understanding, first of all, what you are not. The very questioning doesn't bring with who am I, who am I? In some Ramana Maharishi, we read some books, we say, who am I? Who am I? But it's very difficult to answer that question when you don't know who is asking that who am I? Who is that I asking who am I? So first of all, before we get to who am I, we have to understand what I'm not, who I'm not. So we start with who I'm not, and that process is called neti. We don't understand what I'm not first. So that's where all the vichara is done. Am I this physical body? Am I subject to birth and death? Am I subject to aging? Am I subject to disease? Yes, maybe you think you are. Well, Upanishads have a different view for you. Upanishads have a greater view for you. Upanishads say that you are not subject to birth. You are not subject to death. You are not subject to disease or illness. And what is the logic in that? The logic is, this body is an object of my knowledge. This body I can objectify. See, all my senses, I think, are available for the external world, right? Everything I see, hear is external world. Can I not see, hear, smell, taste, and touch my own body? I can use my senses for my own body. What does that show? This body belongs to external world, actually. This physical body, everybody's physical body belongs to external world, part of the Jagat. So who are you that is objectifying the physical body? That you is what the Guru points out. That you is that Atma. So Shastra, again, to unfold this, We require, it takes a lot more to unfold, but to unfold this, the guru is required along with the words from the scriptures. So, Vivekananda Swami, he said a very, very famous verse from Kathopanishad. Uttishta jagrata prapyavara nibodhata. Wake up, get up, wake up. Don't stop until the goal is reached, because kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya. This spiritual path is like a razor's edge. It's like walking on a razor's edge. You can cut yourself anytime, you can fall anytime. It is very, very difficult. That is why the attitude of Shraddha is required. The right way to walk on that path is given by the Guru, given by the teacher. In those days, they used to have the practice of going to a teacher with twigs in hand. It was very interesting. They would go with this samit in hand, because the Guru, in the Gurukulas, they used to have the fires burning constantly. So they used to go with the samit and offer the samit and ask the Guru to teach. Can I become your disciple? Please teach me. This is the way. They had a certain way of asking. Now, what is the twig that is given to the Guru? Again, it's symbolic. What does he do? He takes the twig, samit, and he throws them into the fire, because that is all the negative qualities that the ego has. All the negative thinking, ways of thinking, all the emotional problems, everything is thrown into the fire. When you reach the Guru, he does, he throws all of that into the fire. So it is very, very interesting. You give the Guru the ability to mold you and shape you into a very, very contributive individual who is spiritually awakened as well. So this very beautiful lines, there are many, many places in the Upanishad, in the Bhagavad Gita, which talk about the attitude of Shraddha and the importance of the attitude. There's a very interesting story also. I may have said this before, but the stories from the Upanishad are always really nice to go back to. If you remember, there's a story of Indra and Virochana. So Indra is the lord of all the gods. Virochana is the god of the lord of the demons. And they're both the progeny of Prajapati, Prajapati is the one who created the world. It's given, Lord Brahma is also sometimes given the title Prajapati, but here he's the creator of the universe, and he is proclaiming very loudly. He's teaching very loudly. He's talking about Atma, the self. The self is without papa. It is ageless. It is deathless. It has no sorrow, hunger, thirst. And he's talking about all of this. And if one gains the self, one gains everything. He says at the end, anything you want in all the worlds, if you gain the self, you gain everything in one shot. So everything else, the other, Indra and Virochana are not bothered about birth or death, hunger, thirst. But because both of them are ambitious, right? Indra was also ambitious, Virochana also ambitious. So when they heard the last line, you will gain everything. If you gain the self, you will gain everything in one shot. Both of the ears pricked up. They said, and what did they want? They went to Prajapati, their father, and they said, we want this knowledge. We want this knowledge because all desires, can you imagine? All desires are fulfilled in one shot. Who would not want that? So this is what they really, got them going with the knowledge, and they felt we must know this Atma. We must go to him to discover this Atma. What did Prajapati tell them? If you remember, Prajapati, does he tell them, give them Atma Jnanam? Does he teach them Brahma Vidya? He doesn't. He says what? Do seva 32 years. Do seva for 32 years. Then at the end of 32 years, they followed him. They followed what he said. At the end of 32 years, what did he say? Very small teaching. He says, the person visible in the pupil of the eye, when you go to a water body or you go to a reflective surface, that person is Atma. And that Atma is timeless consciousness, the truth of this universe. Go and have a look at a water body, look at your reflection. and report back to me what you see. So this is after 32 years, this is all they got. Okay. So we're very lucky these days. We get, quite a bit more teaching. So what happened? So they both went, and what did they see? Of course, they only saw their body, right? They didn't see anything else. You can't see anything if you look. So what did Virochana say? So they reported back. They say, we saw this physical form, and they reported what they saw. And Prajapati says, very good. That is Atma, the immortal, fearless self. And they thought they had got the knowledge. So they both left very happily. So Prajapati, but is he trying to fool them? We have to see. He is the teacher. He's not fooling. There's a difference between fooling and testing, okay? He is testing them, not fooling them. He is testing to see what they will do. So he sees them walk away. And what does Virochana do? He's, of course, the god of the asuras. He's the leader of the asuras. Asushu ramate iti asuraha. Those who revel in sense pleasures are called asuras. What did they do? He went and gave the teaching to all of them. He thought he'd got it. This body is Atma. Enjoy. Basmi bhutasya dehasya punaragamanam kutaha. If this body, when it's going to go to ashes, when is it going to come back? Don't bother about anything. Enjoy. Revel in the senses. So 99% of the world is asura, actually. So everybody, sleeping, eating, enjoying, drinking, that's Virochana's teaching. So, we all know where we hail from. And so they lived the life reveling in sense pleasures, doing up the body, keeping the body alive. That's it. The whole life is like that. But what happened with Indra? Indra also was happy at the beginning. He went away. But that is the difference between gods and demons. There is sattva. You see, people externally, when we read our Puranas and everything, they look same. Because Indra also had a lot of problems, right? He wanted to keep his position, power. A lot of times the demons also had their problems. But the main difference between the Asuric thinking and Devic thinking is what? Knowledge. The Devas have more sattva guna. So they will be thinking about what is said. They will have the ability to do vichara. He realized when he was leaving Prajapati, his father, what did he realize? Something is wrong with this teaching. It is not, or maybe I have not understood it properly. He was not happy. He remembers, I saw myself reflected, but then my father said that it is timeless, birthless, deathless. How can that reflection be me? How can it be Atma? So he had a doubt. And this is the beauty of it. A student can always go back to teacher and ask and clear the doubts. That is part of also tradition. Upanishad teaches how this knowledge takes place. So he goes back to Prajapati and he says, I'm very sorry. I saw this physical body, but it cannot be the deathless, birthless Atma that you said it is. There has to be something else to this. Please give me the true knowledge. So what did Prajapati do? He was very happy that Indra at least had come back. Virochana had gone off and he was very happy enjoying with his asuras. Indra actually thought about the words. He came back and Prajapati said, do 32 years more seva. So he didn't give him any more knowledge. So he gave him after, another 32 years. Why do teachers put their students into seva? Seva is very, very important. Seva is extremely important to purify the antahkarana. So this is why seva is in the ashrams and everywhere. The guru puts the people to seva. So this shraddha is required for tuning your mind to the teacher's mind. Your vision should become teacher's vision. Teacher's vision should become your vision. So you recognize. So this is the qualification, shraddha. Somebody. Then there is another qualification, the next one, samādhāna. Samādhānaṁ. What is samādhānaṁ? Kim? Cittaikāgratā. Cittaikāgratā this is the description of samādhānaṁ in Tattvabodha. What do we see in Vivekacūḍāmaṇiḥ? sarvadā sthāpanaṁ buddheḥ śuddhe brahmaṇi sarvadā tatsamādhānaમિtyuktaṁ natu cittasya lālanam. So as I said, Adi Shankaracharya has gone one step more in the Vivekacūḍāmaṇi to explain these values, explain these qualifications. What does he say here? Samādhānaṁ is not just indulging in any thought and losing yourself to your thinking. It is the constant concentration of the intellect and constantly concentrating on what? On focusing on the self-knowledge. That is the ability, like a magnifying glass, you're able to focus the sunlight and it produces fire. That type of mind, not even for spiritual life. If you look at any field where people have found success, do they not have that type of thinking? Great scientists, great people who have made discoveries, they become dead to the world and they're able to focus their mind on one particular thing. And you know what happens? When you're able to focus, you will get so many insights in life. It's amazing. The ability to sit and focus gives so many insights, and you become your own guru when you do that. So this is also a very, very important thing. Samādhānaṁ is an important qualification. In Tattvabodha, cittaikāgratā means one-fold flow of thoughts. The thought should flow in a not one-track mind, okay? That's different. One-track mind is different to samādhanam. It is a fully focused mind. Attention span, you're able to focus your attention for a length of time. Patanjali also in his Yoga Sutras, very beautifully, he deals with the mind. And this comes in the sixth stage of his Ashtanga Yoga. He mentions a step called Dharana. Dharana is exactly this, holding steady, sustaining your thoughts so they don't go all over the place. Very, very beautiful quality to cultivate, but very difficult. It is not easy to do that. How do we get it? This is where Bhagavan comes to help us. Here we have definitions in Tattvabodha, we have definitions in Vivekacūḍāmaṇiḥ. Where do we get help from for living these definitions? We go to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is for living the definitions that we learn of in the other texts. So Bhagavan says, yato nischarati manaschanchalam astiram tatastato niyam yetat atmanyeva vasham nayet. So yato nischarati, whenever the mind wanders, mind will wander. Manas chanchalam astiram, it is unstable. It is chanchalam, it is always fluctuating, always changing. But you can get this focus how? Tatas tato niyamyetat, keep bringing it back to a focus. You keep bringing it back to yourself. When you see it wander, bring it back. You need a focus. So people don't become focused immediately. People practice to become focused, okay? It's very rare you find somebody who is immediately focused. If they are immediately focused, that means they have been blessed from Purva Janma. It is not easy to get in one life. So here, you bring it back. Bhagavan says, Atmanyeva Vasham Nayet, bring it under your control. Whenever the mind goes, what happens? Hey, when you see the people who ride horses, if the horse moves in one direction, what do? They are the ones, they bring the reins back, the horse goes where they want. So it is not wrong for the horse of the mind to go all over the place, but it is up to your willpower to bring it back. In fact, that is meditation. That is how you develop samādhānaṁ. Meditation is not simply sitting and your mind becoming still. Don't have the idea, and this is another problem people have. They keep saying, I cannot meditate, I cannot be still. We never defined meditation as sitting and then your mind becoming quiet. Who has a mind like that? Nobody will have a mind that just becomes quiet, because mind's nature is not to be quiet. So the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually unfolds meditation for us. He says, meditation is the process of reigning in your thoughts. Whenever they go somewhere, they go to the January sales or they go to Marks and Spencer's, you're going shopping already when you're sitting for Vedanta class. And what do? You reign in the mind and you bring it back under your control. So how do I do that? What makes me reign in? If you see the value in what you're doing, definitely you will make effort. I always say this, the value has to be seen. I want to develop focus, make it a goal. Okay, moksha is the highest goal. Moksha is the furthest goal. Moksha is the real goal. But for moksha, you need a focused mind, right? So make that my goal. I want a focused mind. I am going to practice this meditation at least 10 minutes a day, bringing my mind back whenever it goes anywhere. And you keep practicing, what happens? You will get samādhānaṁ. It is only practice that makes perfect. Practice in anything makes perfect. Bhagavan says that practice make perfect line comes from Bhagavad Gita. Abhyasena, he gives that. Practice anything and you will get it. You will become a pro at anything you practice. And samādhānaṁ, why is it considered a qualification? Because for shravanam, if the mind is wandering all over the place, how can knowledge take place? You cannot. The mind has to be like a sponge. It has to absorb. So all of these qualities become extremely important for for the mind to become still, for the mind to become calm. See, the thoughts, we have to understand thoughts. Thoughts are, that strings of thoughts come. I think of Shiva. I'm saying Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Then suddenly, oh, Shiva, what is he doing? Somebody called Shiva in India is sitting there in Delhi somewhere. The mind will go to Shiva. I wonder what he's doing now. Om Namah Shivaya. Maybe he's with his wife. Oh, his wife. I remember her from 20 years back. And then you're still continuing the japa. This is called string thoughts. Thoughts always go in string process. If you see one name, something connects to something else, then your thought is already with that other thing. Then that connects to something else and that your thought goes to the other thing. So this is where I practice. Instead of it, going in the string way, I bring it back because that can prevent you from being in the present. When you have this something that consumes your time because your thoughts are going all over the place, that can again take you away from your true nature. So it stops you from living in the present moment. That is why Bhagavan says to Arjuna, I know your mind is restless, so Arjuna. Arjuna says it is difficult to control as the wind. I can't do it. He uses that word, the wind. Wind, how can we harness the wind? How can we control? But Bhagavan is very compassionate. He says it is difficult. It is definitely not easy. I do sympathize with you, even though I have given you the mind. Of course, I'm imagining what Krishna says. But he has given the mind, yet he is compassionate because he knows the mind he has given is quite turbulent. It's all over the place. And he gives two techniques to master. He says, Abhyasa, practice makes perfect, and Vairagya, objectivity. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. Objectivity means I don't kick myself when the mind goes. Some people come very dejected. They've tried one time they try meditation. Oh, I tried it, but I can't do it. I'm useless. My husband can meditate for half an hour, but I can't do it. That is called non-objectivity. Objectivity means, you see, I haven't succeeded today, but tomorrow I will try again. And tomorrow, if you don't succeed, I haven't succeeded today. I try again. Objectivity means I keep making efforts and I don't hit myself. I don't blame myself. I don't have any of these negative thinking about myself. Until I succeed, I carry on and I practice and practice because it is good for me. So Bhagavad Gita is a very, very beautiful text to go and see how to practice. There's another question that Arjuna asks in the Gita because it is all connected with samādhānaṁ. That is why I'm bringing it in. But in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna actually tells Krishna, this whole personality of mine, sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakritir jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigrahak kim karishyati. He says, my whole system, my whole body, mind, senses is driven by Prakriti, by nature. Because Bhagavan, he's using Bhagavan's argument before. Bhagavan says, we are driven by nature in life. We're not able to, nature drives all our pursuits, sattva, rajas, tamas. So we are just driven by nature. We're not in control. So here Arjuna actually questions Krishna. He says, what use is there, O Lord, of controlling? Can I really control anything in my life? Is there any use? What we are driven by our vasanas, we're driven by our samskaras. So he asks Krishna, what use is there to control? But Bhagavan says you are able to manage. You can manage, even though nature takes you in a certain way. Suppose your nature is to sleep all the time. Some people cannot, they don't want to do anything else. They just sleep, 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 sleep. And the nature is like that because Prakriti is driving you to sleep. Tamas. Then what? So Bhagavan says here, Tayor navasham agachet raga dvesha vyavastito. It is the raga dvesha, the likes and dislikes that drive you in your life. Don't come under their sway because they are your enemies. If you have a tendency, you see, which is not very healthy, we're taking the tendency of sleeping, 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 then what do? You do the opposite. This is the only way you cultivate opposite habits. There is no other way. There's no easy way out here. You have to use that willpower that has been given. It's called power, right? Why is will called? Because there is a power there. Ichha Shakti is willpower. In fact, Goddess Lakshmi is a personification of Ichha Shakti. If you find your willpower is lacking, pray to her. She is not just for material wealth, she is for willpower as well. So, Ichha Shakti, let her give that Ichha Shakti, and then you're able to manage your Prakriti or manage your tendencies to go here and there. So, this Bhagavan says are the ways that you manage your mind. And what are the other ways that are discussed in the scriptures to gain a quiet mind? First of all, I have to see what is the problem with the mind. There are some impurities there in the mind that stop my mind from being calm, stop my mind from being peaceful. These are called mala in Sanskrit. Mala are mental impurities, again, due to raga, dveshas. They are the accumulated dirt of everything I've done in my life. Every experience I have, I accumulate some dirt. Am I able to remove the dirt? That's why we say every evening you should have a dirt removal, before you go to sleep. Remove that dirt by analyzing what has pushed your buttons, what you have to, address, all of this very objectively. If you have a journal, you can actually help yourself to remove that dirt, cleanse the mind of the dirt. So here, mala, impurities are cleaned by, what are these impurities? Kama, krodha, lobha, we know this, we've heard this, mada, matsarya, all of these are considered impurities. And the best way to clean these impurities, as we're doing satsanga, mantras, prayer, and also a life of karma yoga. So actually, it's a very beautiful way. Your way of life becomes, again, help for your spiritual growth. You use your way of life to clean the mind of all its impurities, invoking Ishvara's grace. So mala takes a long time to eliminate, but if you live a life of karma yoga and you also examine many things, in your past and present that you can help remove, that practice itself will give you purity. The next impurity is vikshepa. Vikshepa is what? Internal disturbances, internal distractions. So this is what Arjuna was talking about in the Bhagavad Gita. This is called vikshepa. These are turbulent waves of thoughts that happen all the time. And one of the techniques given to control this vikshepa shakti is what? It is japa. Japa, amazing. It has an amazing effect. You take one mantra, you do repetition of that mantra. If you do it over a length of time, what happens? The destructiveness, the mind's always projecting out, that comes back in again. We're talking about samādhānaṁ, so it is important. So japa and meditation become important to manage my vikshepa shakti, that shakti that projects, the projective power. And finally, the last one that that Shastra talks about is avarana. Avarana is this power of concealment. We all have that. How do we address that power of not knowing? That not knowing power can only be addressed through knowledge, because knowledge gives you the opposite. So avarana shakti is also taken care of. So if these three things are taken care of, then the spiritual aspirant can come out of all the negative tendencies, all the negative emotions, the greed, the jealousy, the hatred, anger, anxiety. All of these become, very, very subdued in you. You are no longer a reactive person. You become active in life. So very beautiful. From reaction, you move to action. So free will is introduced into your life to make a difference in the way you behave. Because if you always act impulsively, if you always act mechanically, what happens? You destroy relationships. So many things get destroyed if we keep acting in these ways. That's why our Shastra says, be very clear. Be very clear what you want first. If you want peace, you have to make efforts for it. You have to make efforts in the form of managing this mind, getting this samādhānaṁ, making the mind focus and becoming master of your mind. So the mind is not your master. Mind should become your slave. You are the master of the mind. And for that mastery over the mind, you have to become alert in life and also do some practice. Even if you can't meditate for 4-6 hours a day, we all have work, we're all busy. At least a few moments a day, sit quietly with yourself and become objective to that thoughts, because the thoughts are what drive you to action. How do we get driven to action? The thoughts. So it is the thoughts. When I learn to manage, I learn to control, then I learn to be at peace with myself. And Bhagavan says, Vairagya Abhyasa. And just to finish off, conclude, in Vivekacūḍāmaṇiḥ, the last explanation Adi Shankaracharya said was, that mind is put in the understanding of the vastu, understanding of consciousness. So with such a mind, I put it to Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, and it has to work. It will work. That is what the method has been passed down from our rishis. It cannot but work. It's 100% guaranteed method. Rishis have tried it. They have succeeded. And they have passed down that method to all of humanity. So I'll stop there for today. We have one more qualification to go to, that is mumukshutvam. And with that, we conclude the sadhana chatushtaya, which is, again, very beautiful to revisit again and again. It comes up in some form in all of the texts, actually, because without qualifications, spiritual qualifications, spiritual success is very tough to get. So with any subject, Atma Vidya, Brahma Vidya is a subject. For any subject, you need certain qualifications to understand greater levels of the subject. It is the same in this self-knowledge. For self-knowledge also, you need certain qualifications. Unfortunately, you don't get certificates if you gain these qualifications. Nobody could care less whether you gain. See, people may say, oh, you've changed so much. What happened? But nobody really bothers whether you have these. You won't get medals for gaining, Samādhāna medal. Have you seen that? Who has gained most Samādhānaṁ? Gold medal, not like Nobel Prize for Samādhānaṁ. Nobel Prize for something. Nobody is going to get medals for Sadhana Chatushtaya. But you do it for yourself. You do it. You are your own reward. When you see the change in yourself, that is the greatest reward. Before, when you were disturbed by so many things, what happens? Now, when you gain these qualifications, you find I'm less and less disturbed by the world. I'm more and more at peace with myself and with others, the whole Jagat. So with that, I will leave today and wish you all a Devi-filled Navaratri. May the goddess bless you with removal of her Avarana Shakti, her concealment, power of concealment. And may she help you to see the truth of who you really are. Hari Om. Namaste. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om. Namaste to all. I will see you next week. I will do in between the prayers. We will do Hari Om.